Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sunday Night Breakdown. My hair is a mess. Uh, Daniel Outledge and Dave Forrester with you to go through all the action. And just to full disclosure here, we would have been recording this 10, 15 minutes ago, but Dave was eating. So he
Yeah,
was late here because he was eating. I was here ready to go, and Dave wasn't because he was eating.
pineapple on a pizza.
There you go. Even worse, Dave. Even worse. Fortunately, I didn't hang up and leave him.
I've got no issue with taking the hit.
Prioritizing food over work.
Well, I'm thinking more unpopular decisions in relation to pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, well,
I'm quite
okay.
happy to kind of go against the flow and be out there. Be the outlier.
This could be the end of a beautiful podcast here, Dave.
Yeah, it could be. Probably
Let's.
the
There's a lot to
time.
get. There's a lot to get through, including whether you should prioritize eating over work. So let's get on to the action. Before we go into the British Basketball League, Dave, I want to talk about the EuroCup Women's Final on Wednesday night. I want
Yeah,
to park all the politics and all of the other
yeah.
mess, and I want to go through the game. We can come to that at the end if you want, but I want to talk about
Okay.
the game because it was an amazing game. I sat there watching this and I was like, this is
Yes,
an
it was. It
unbelievable
was.
game.
To be fair.
It finished London Lions 81, Besiktas 70, which means the Lions won 149, 145 on aggregate and thus become the first British team to win a European title. Congratulations to all involved. The first thing I want to say is I was super impressed by Besiktas, how
Yeah,
they managed to stay in the contest. They were in massive foul trouble. I thought they got rough end of a number of calls. They clearly
yeah.
have the shorter bench.
So did they, I think.
Yeah, well, indeed, yeah. They had the shorter balance. They had the shorter bench. I mean, London, in essence, to me, looks. I'm not a women's basketball expert, but looks like a EuroLeague team playing in EuroCup,
Yeah.
and
Well,
Besiktas looked like a EuroCup team playing in the EuroCup on
I
Thursday.
mean, if Gustafsson was the leading scorer in EuroLeague last
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
yeah,
So
apparently he's an WNBA player, and
yeah,
so yeah,
so they were out talented. They were
yeah,
getting a few questionable calls. They were in all sorts of foul trouble. They lost Lazic for like 10 minutes to injury. They were getting killed on the boards. They were getting outshot. And I thought they were beaten about 4 times. And yet somehow,
he kept
with
coming back.
30 seconds to go, they were in the lead in
Well, the
aggregate.
point guard made about 4 plays in the last
Mm.
minute and a half, which was like,
We'll
oh,
go we'll go through
yeah,
we'll go through it because I've
yeah,
got it written down, but it was just before we do any of that, I wanted to just acknowledge how incredible it was that they stayed in the game given everything.
yeah, fair enough.
Third quarter, Lee gets her fourth foul and sits down, and then Lazic moments later gets injured and goes off, and then a minute after that, Nogic got her fourth foul,
Yeah,
and they didn't take her out. She then got fouled out on the fifth before the end of the third quarter, and the coach got a technical as well. And that was probably the second time in the game that I thought they'd lost the game, and there were at least two more
well, I mean, they were
after that point.
undersized without those two
Yeah,
bigs, weren't they?
yeah,
They
yeah.
needed one in the game, bottom line, and
And the girl who came in for Lee, and I forget what her name was, but she got about 4 fouls in a minute or something or
yeah.
other. And it was, I just thought Benley and Gustafsson was just going to
Well,
demolish
they
them
were
in
they were
terms.
kind of high lowing them to death, weren't they?
Yeah,
Just throwing
yeah.
one goes high, one backs in, and just come on, try and guard us, please.
Mm.
And they really couldn't.
So Lee fouled out with 4 minutes to go. They were still up two on aggregate in it. And then 2:05 to go. The scores are level on aggregate. And Coach Akaya gets DQ'd. And Dave, I will defer to you on this, but my personal view is there's 2 minutes to go in a European final.
Mm.
Um, I don't care how badly you're getting hosed or
Yeah.
how badly you think you're getting hosed, even the 1 point that you're giving away on the technical is not worth it. Never mind the fact that you're not going to be there for the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I mean, also the message it sends to your players, to your team, it kind of is an emotional discombobulation. It's
Mm.
probably quite a significant point. Um, yeah, but I mean, you could throw that the other way and you say, "My God, what do you have to say to a ref to get thrown out to get a setting technical with 2 minutes to go?"
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that could go the other way because, you know, at that point in time, that would be a relatively easy one for the refs kind of swallow their whistle, given that they've fouled out half the Besiktas team.
Mm.
It's rare. Just as an aside on that, the passionate kind of English crowd getting the calls, not the mad Turkish.
Yeah, yeah,
Turkey. I
yeah,
mean, it's a little bit of a role reversal for the last 30 years, isn't it? Really, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
when Kingston beat PAOK, it was full of Greeks.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But not PAOK, Aris, and when Sunderland
Paris, yeah,
PAOK,
yeah,
it was full of
yeah,
Greeks,
yeah, yeah.
and just nuts. And the Brits were kind of politely clapping the opponents. Um, yeah, so yeah, I mean, yeah, probably not smart, but he was boiling. I mean,
Yeah.
it happened all week. I mean, coaches have been boiling all weekend.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah,
getting
yeah,
over
yeah,
it,
yeah. Stella got
Um,
ejected from a game today, by the way.
yeah, when they're up 50, yeah,
Yeah,
great.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
The
wow,
so they get 3 free throws out of that
yeah,
process, and it moves London in front on aggregate by 3. And obviously,
yeah,
again, I go back to that one point. Maybe
makes
Holly
it different. Oh, yeah,
Winterburn shot
absolutely, yeah.
might be tying the game rather than winning the game, but there you go. And then Dana Evans, who had a bit of a nightmare shooting, air balls all over the places, but the epitome of shoot to shoot. Never turned down the next one. Hits a big 3 to tie
Yeah,
it, 1:57 to go. Then gets a steal,
yeah,
and Bayram lays it up, and they're up 2 on aggregate. Petty then hits a 3 for London.
yeah, big,
Evans misses. Evans with another steal. Winterburn big play, chased down, blocked her.
yeah.
Besiktas ball. They did challenge it, but it stayed with Besiktas.
Thought she was
Ev-
going to be good, yeah.
Evans into the key, 35 seconds to go, 76-70. So up 1 Besiktas in the game. And then 15 seconds to go late in the shot clock. Holly Winterburn a 3, which basically was the game winner. If you miss that, you lose the final.
Incredible shot. I mean, well, you don't automatically lose, but your odds are probably 20 to 80
Mm,
at that point if you miss that shot. Um, it was a broken play. I mean, they didn't have anything.
mm,
They threw it to her. She was about 4 feet outside the
mm,
three-point line.
mm,
And that's, at the level that they're playing at, that's career defining.
mm,
23-year-old, the players that she's playing with who are flying back to the WNBA, who are going to be going back and saying, well, there's this girl in England who, sorry, this woman in England who has, um, been one of the best players in the game with multiple WNBA potential players in there, and more importantly, has had the cojones to step up and make that shot.
mm,
I mean, it's. I mean, because she was, that far out, they were a step off, and so she used the extra distance, shot it from what in men's terms would be the NBA 3-point line, and just knocked it down. It's just an incredible shot.
mm,
Um, every kind of aspect of it, the bottle to take it, the confidence in shooting it, and the form and the way, and the comfort level in doing so, and
mm,
obviously the time and status of the game. Special, blood
mm,
special,
mm.
so it'll be really interesting to see where her career arc takes her now.
Yeah, as you say, it's a shot that people take notice of because of the context of it.
Yeah.
Um,
But and the fact she had 23 and 8 or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And, it's not Matt Cunningham,
No, 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 no. It's not. No, yeah, yeah.
Google it
Um,
if you don't know, guys. Google it.
Google it. It's out
Yeah.
there. Timeout advance. Well, in fact, I think it's on old school BBL on YouTube.
Oh, there
I'm
you
pretty
go.
sure if I want to send you that. Lazic with the turnover, and then they did the smart thing and ran out some time, and eventually Gustafsson got fouled and iced it from the free throw line.
I mean, that shot was a game breaker. It was,
Yeah,
as you said,
yeah.
it was absolute game breaker. And then without the coach there and just the environment, they just it's crazy. This sounds really facile because London just won a European competition, right? But we haven't had too many two-legged finals in this country,
Mm.
right? That I can remember. I remember one,
Newcastle, Plymouth.
Newcastle Plymouth, 2012. And crazily, we played at Sports Central for 10 years, maybe 9 years.
Mm.
That was the loudest it was ever in there.
Mm.
By far. That night, we were down 9 against Plymouth. And the game kind of was actually a little bit similar to the London game. The Eagles kind of were up 7, up 12, up 14, up 10, that type of thing. And it came down to the last 2 minutes, and Plymouth missed a few foul shots, and Chapman made a big 3, and all sorts of stuff. But kind of the the momentum of having the momentum in that two-legged situation kind of carried us through in a final. Not, I know we've had semi-finals and stuff, but in a final, it was different even to the semi-finals that we played subsequently, even some very close ones against Leicester and some other teams, and Worcester. And I got a little flashback to that because of the way that the away team is hanging around, but you always thought the home team, to come away with that in a game where on the score sheet in the 40 minutes you're losing by 8 or 9, to make the plays at the end in those circumstances, it's really, really tough. And the whole two-legged thing, it does create, it gives you very little draw up until about the last 10 minutes of the second leg.
Yeah.
And then it's absolutely on.
Yeah.
Probably magnified 3 or 4 times what it would be even in a three. Now, we haven't done many three-legged series here, obviously, so we're going to have game 3s hopefully coming up. So we'll get to view that against what it was like. But it did strike me as that, the whole place is bouncing more than, as I say, even more than in seasons when we won the league. And it's just that kind of winning something on your own floor. That was, Eagles won a lot, but that was the only time we really won anything on our own floor. I won the league, maybe won the league once, but that wasn't a kind of a desperation game, if you know what I mean.
It's not against the team that's losing.
Exactly. That's nailed on. Yeah, 100%.
I think there was one Leicester Newcastle game in Leicester when Leicester won the league. But I think all the other times that either you or Leicester won the league, you didn't win it against each other. There might have been a key game the week before or 2 weeks before.
Yeah, it was a Sheffield. We won the league in 13-14. We beat Sheffield the week before, which was kind of the league side. Then we had to go and play the 2 bottom teams the last 2 days, and that it was kind of done. But yeah, I mean, no, it's that direct kind of competitive element.
Yeah.
Really is.
Sheffield, Manchester, isn't it? Manchester, Sheffield.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But you never, to get that in a league is, requires an enormous amount of good fortune.
Yeah.
To get that in the schedule. I mean, it's just once in 100 years. To get if you have a cup competition like that, then it kind of where you're on. It's because the whole thing is. I'm thinking this through now. It's because of the imbalance to it all that actually makes it more compelling.
Yeah.
So the imbalance, instead of saying both teams start at 0 on a neutral floor and you just play another, throw the ball up, what you're saying is, well, you're going to have the home court, but you're going to be starting down 7 handicap.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole thing, the whole dynamic, the whole psychology of it is so different. Both ways, are you hanging on? Are you trying to blow them out? All that type of stuff. So it was the argument for all the slagging off we get for the British basketball playing 2-legged games. We've had it over the years. Don't care about the fact that was a direct contradiction to all of that. That was a fantastic spectacle.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It wouldn't have been had there not been a 7-point difference in the first leg.
And it wouldn't have been had there been a three-legged final.
No.
Exactly. It wouldn't have, because again it'd be throw the ball up in the air. So yeah. I mean, even EMBL finished. Even the EMBL, they played their finals in Denmark, so that hometown cream crowd. It does add something,
Yeah. Samuelson with 19 points ended up being named MVP of the final. Gustafsson 18 points. Fagbenley 17 points. I would have picked Holly Winterburn as MVP because she had 22, 5 and 5 or whatever it was in the first leg, and then hit that shot.
Yeah,
and I know she had a lot of turnovers in the second leg, but the numbers were good enough. And she hit that shot. The shot in itself is almost enough.
Well, the crazy thing about her development is that, to be honest, even 18 months ago, 12 months ago, you wouldn't have thought she could play the point guard at any real level, real kind of high level, because she didn't grow up being a point guard. She'd always kind of been off the ball, catch, shoot, and penetrate and get to the rim. And she's, in fact, even to the point whereby, when London started, I can't remember if she was playing from that year, they had Kennedy Leonard running the point. And then she's come over went to Oregon for a year, didn't for whatever reason, didn't make it or didn't settle. I think that's probably fairer in Oregon. And they were the national champion team when she went over there. So that wasn't just kind of going to some college in the middle of nowhere. And then has come back, but has basically been the point guard for that team. And I didn't see that coming. And that's what she needs to be at the next level with her height, and kind of, slightly better than average athleticism. She needs to be the point guard
Mm.
to have a shot at the EuroLeague and the WNBA, and she's kind of proved that she's not far off.
Mm.
So that's a positivity of 777's money. It's propelled her career.
Yeah, we shall see where it goes from here. Evans 17 points and 8 assists, 6 of 31 shooting.
Well, does that not give you an idea as to the level of kind of talent, the talent comparison?
Yeah.
If your point guard shooting 30, if she's shooting 31 shots, it's because she has to.
Yeah.
It's not because because here's the thing: if someone's shooting
That and
31,
the fact that Lee was on the bench for an awfully
yeah,
long time.
but I mean, the coach has the ability to take her out, when she's 5 for 29, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
That says it all, really.
Yeah. Lazic 16 and Lee 13. Did you want to do any of the politics, or should we just leave it at the
Not
game?
really. I
Not
said it
really.
all last week. I mean, the whole thing, I say it left me. I mean, I was happy that they won, but I turned over after 10 minutes. What's happening next? And nothing. And unfortunately, I'm. You'll probably gather this season that the kind of the hype machine is kind of got on my nose a little bit at times. On a weekly basis. And I'm seeing these kinds of people. I'm seeing these. Oh, this is the start of something great. All this stuff. And I'm thinking this is the end. This isn't the start. This is the end. This is the bottom. This is the end of the curve. This curve, or is it vertiginous? Is it vertiginous slope?
Yeah. Like you, I sort of go, well, what did we gain out of that? They've spent all that money. They've won a trophy, clearly, and for those players, that is a career moment.
For some of them, yeah.
For some of them, yeah.
Some of them, it's just another job, to be honest.
Yeah. And I sort of guess, well, what did we get out of it? And the only thing I can take away from it is actually when I looked on the court in that game,
yeah,
3 of the most important players on the court were British players.
Yeah, that's true. Winterburn, Fagburnley, and Sanderson.
Yeah. So to me that was a positive.
Yeah, and Wilkinson comes off the bench as well.
Wilkinson, yeah.
I mean, and so I agree. It is, and also there's a fleeting bit of visibility.
Yeah, it was on the bongs on BBC News at 10.
There's a fleeting bit of visibility, but we had fleeting bits of visibility before, and unfortunately, they don't actually count for much. In over the kind of the 30-year kind of axis of British basketball. So I don't give it that, but I don't rule it out. I don't say it's totally hopeless. And the argument, I suppose, from London's
the other thing is,
we've done it properly. If you're gonna, we're not going to throw money at being half-hearted. We've done it properly and we've won. But as I say, if they weren't playing some of their home games in Oakland in front of nobody, I'd have a little bit more time for that argument.
Yeah. They've got, I think, 3 games in Oakland this week.
And it's like, that to me is, it's a double, they're running on double tracks, aren't they?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, one of the tracks has just been, had a big stop sign put at the end of it.
Yeah.
We're back to the first track again. And I tweeted actually something quite parochial on yesterday. I wasn't at the game, but Newcastle versus Oakland's had 520 people in yesterday in the WBBL game. And I know they've had big crowds in the past, but they've always advertised them as the big one. I know Leicester have done it, Essex have done it, Newcastle have done it. They've kind of put a lot of marketing into it, and they've got 1,000 people there. This wasn't a marketing game. This was a game which just came off the back of the last one when they'd had 900 there against Sheffield, I think, in what was the big one. And to get 520, the vast majority of whom were paying customers into a WBBL game, that is tangible progress. And I'm not sure they'll be there next week, but that's as much to hang your hat on as Megan Gustafson flying in and then flying back to the WNBA with a trophy in her pocket.
Yeah.
And that's not to denigrate London's accomplishment, but if you wanted to improve the consistent level of the sport and give we have to develop an economy for it. And there's no economy for women's British basketball at the moment. Hence the 3 games at Oakland. No, they just won the EuroCup. They should be playing they should be getting another 4,000 people in front of the for the next game to celebrate them. On any kind of linear sporting trajectory, but British basketball isn't linear.
No.
It never has been. because unfortunately that costs money to kind of continue. So yeah, so I'm sorry, that's kind of enough about the politics. I don't want to take away from the game too much.
Let's go to the sideshow of Wednesday night. Plymouth City Patriots 80, Cheshire Phoenix 112. So I was dual screening this with the EuroCup, and I didn't bother watching it back afterwards. So
I watched it back this morning. Watched the first half of it
yeah.
back, the first 3/4 of it back this morning.
Yeah, apologies if I missed anything. No White, no Ben Thomas. So James
Yeah,
Bryce was in charge
yeah.
for Plymouth. The
Look,
Patriots.
James, you don't get the win. The most
No, he
unjust
doesn't get
in
the win.
sport.
No, no.
Most unjust rule in sport.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can go and cry with Luke Walton. Uh, Plymouth seemingly keeping with them in the first half. Cheshire did get out to 9, but Dangakola, Kodo, and Wiley got Plymouth back ahead. A 10-0 run just before halftime, a 15-0 run just after halftime, and it's 45-70, and that was
Yeah,
the
they
game.
got into a scoring race with them in the first half, and there's only ever going to be one winner as to that. Cheshire's the nearest thing to an NBA offense that we have. They run 5 out and occasionally run a big guy in, but Ryan, Rideau, you see how meticulously they avoid kind of mid-range 2-point jump shots. They're not interested. They're interested in threes and getting to the rim to kick out for threes and then rebounding threes and getting more threes. And because of that, and because they're so ingrained in it, their spacing is perfect. There's always someone in the corner. There's always someone ready to catch and shoot. And they've got kind of a rotating cast of people who do that, be it Stevens or Jack or whoever, and Kristen, and so they're a group which kind of is more than the sum of its parts, but more than anything, that just it's really modern basketball. It's really offensively efficient. They're not a great defensive team. They're not a bad defensive team. They're not a great defensive team, but they believe the math will take them through. And they've got enough guys who can shoot and create shots, and particularly Rideau and Rye, who are primarily the two-shot creators. In fact, they hold him when he comes in a little bit. But it's basically Rideau and Rye, and everybody else just gives them the ball, goes and stands where they need to stand, and lets them find them. And then, if you get closed out on the first kick out, you rotate, you swing it to somebody else, and they're open and they shoot it. And everybody has the green light. So there's no lacking in there's no lack of decision making, no lack of certainty in the players. They know they catch it, they shoot it. That really clears the mind. That can make an average shooter into a great shooter, because he knows that he has, every time he catches it, he puts it up. I mean, that's it. And Skylar White is, he's statistically he's an average shooter, but in that team, we've talked about it before. He's just a kind of a defense maneuver, and when he's not there, it's even harder to guard him because Kristen plays at the 5. Not Kristen, Chargewell plays at the 5, and that makes that gets put another shot on the court around them. So Plymouth, yeah, they don't have the physicality to defend. They don't have the length to defend Cheshire, and this game kind of eventually got away when Cheshire got out in transition, scored made a couple of threes in transition.
Wiley 22, Green 5 of 9 for 3 for 20 points, Atwood 14.6 rebounds, Rye 20 points and 8 assists, Holden 18 points, Jack 17 points. There was 17 of 36.
Yeah, I thought for a minute that Green was flying.
Thursday night. We're here all week, people. Thursday night, Newcastle Eagles 86, Bristol Flyers 90. Josh Ward Hibbert was unavailable for Newcastle. Newcastle
Kind of worrying when you've had 10 days off or 11 days off and you come back injured. It's happened a few times in Newcastle this season.
They jumped out to a 12-4 lead with threes from Johnson and Green. There are too many Greens in the league now.
Yeah.
But Flyers tied it at 12. Newcastle, to be honest with you, led for much of the first half, but never really got away.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Newcastle's energy at the start was very good. In fact, their energy at the start of both halves was very good. Their execution was less good. And Bristol, and there was, you could see it with the players. This was an end of season game. Both teams were in the playoffs. There was, there was, there was absolutely no edge to it. There was some little kind of asides with the players that would talk to each other. They played each other a lot. They know what they've been through, etc. And it didn't get sparky until kind of the middle of the third quarter. My stat on the first half and the second, and actually part of the second half of this, is it was 27 minutes in this game before a coach called a timeout. They didn't use a single timeout in the first half. We went past the TV timeout in the third quarter before I think Andreas scored one at like the 27-minute mark. Now, I don't think that's happened at any other time this season.
No.
That kind of demonstrates just kind of how unsatisfactory, how bitty it was in relation to teams putting periods of good play together, because neither coach thought that it was necessary to kind of break an opponent's run.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. And yeah, and I mean, ultimately, this game, on the numbers, it came down to foul shots, but in reality, it came down to a little bit more than that.
So Johnson with 8 in a row. Eagles hit 14 consecutive points to lead 55-42 in the third quarter. And then when Delpesh hit a corner 3 on the third quarter buzzer to make it a 12-point lead, I was thinking, well, surely Eagles are going to win from here.
No, I wasn't. This game kind of turned at that point, because at the 55-42 mark, when Andreas, after that 14-point run, finally called that timeout, he came back with his kind of last resort lineup, which is Smith and Green. Two bigs. Because Bradley, hadn't been able to make a shot all night. Bristol has been chucking up bricks, to be honest, hadn't been rebounding particularly well. If Newcastle had made the 10 foul shots they'd missed by then, they'd have been up by 20. So he came back with that lineup, and that coincided with Eagles' front line going from Defoe and Green, and basically from Defoe playing on his own, to Neighbour and Delpesh. And they couldn't handle Green. And, inside, they got bullied from up to that point. 27 minutes in, Bristol had 42 points. They finished with 90.
Yeah.
Right? And you could actually, and the Eagles' defense was right in front of me. I'm 2 rows at the front. I'm on that side of the court. In the first 7 minutes, I think they held Bristol at 3 points. I think they had 39 at the half. And they had that with 3 points. And you could see, 10 feet away from me, Darius is calling out every screen. He's calling out every switch, every cover. You could see how connected they were defensively, the physicality of them. And then when he came out of the basketball game, the physicality just absolutely disappeared. And Leslie Smith actually took over the game, and credit to Leslie Smith, because he's having a great year at the 4 spot. That shouldn't happen. Now, the problem that Newcastle have is that Taj Green was playing like a guy who had 26 against Leicester and thought he should be in the NBA, because he was awful. Defensively, he was all over the place, so he couldn't play the 4. Spencer hasn't been trusted, so he's not played. He played 3 minutes in the first half, didn't get off the bench again. Neighbour is playing the 4, but he can't guard anybody at the 4, because you can see he's got a target on his back every time the opposition look at him, because the 4 spot, you've got to cover. You've got to get out and cover the 3-point shooter. You got to get back in. You got to stay in front of people. And Delpesh is a solid big guy post defender, but he's nowhere near what Defoe is in the screen and roll of the help. And they just got, and from that moment on, I think Bristol scored 13 points in the last 2.5 minutes. And forget the Delpesh 3, which actually went off the backboard if you watched it.
Yeah, it was a bank.
Ridiculous shot. But forget that. That was fool's gold. It was the fact that they'd scored 3 points in the first 7 minutes and then 13 points in the next 3 minutes. That turned this game. And it was because of that lineup. And this is where, I think it doesn't help having too many guys. Because within 30 seconds and I could see it coming, within 30 seconds of the fourth quarter, 5-0 run, timeout. Same lay on. Then Mark puts the same guys back on again, even after the timeout. And I'm thinking, I want Defoe back in this game now, because ultimately the whole tenor of the game has changed. And it was too late. Now, Bristol got into a rhythm. Newcastle's offense, I'm afraid, in the crunch time is not good. And the reality is they've kind of got to the point now whereby I don't think the 3 guards are playable at the same time, because defensively they are, but offensively, Austin was like 1 of 7 from the foul line in this game. He has given up any pretense of being a shooter. And he is just crashing the boards every single time down. And the spacing is horrendous as a result. And he's getting offensive rebounds. And you think, oh, what a good job getting an offensive rebound. But that's fine if he finishes. And sometimes he'll cut from the corner. But the vast majority of time, there is no, if McGill or Johnson are attacking, there's no one in that corner to kick the basketball to because the opposition are ignoring him out there. And when you throw in the fact that Darius isn't spacing the court to the 3-point line either, and Taj is off on one of his, his magical mystery tours around his own head, then the whole thing kind of just kind of falls away in their offense. And so Bristol got back to 4-point, then got back to tie game with 4 minutes to go. And
let me catch you up first.
Yeah,
you touched on Smith. He had a 3 and a 3-point play. Flyers had a 14-2 run to start the fourth quarter, so they tied the scores within 3 minutes. And then with 4 minutes to go, it's 74-72. And this is, I think, where you were about to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, the point being, basically, Defoe builds a 14-point lead with his defense and his communication. By the time he comes back in the game, the 14-point lead's gone and Bristol are flying. And the most important point in a British Basketball League game, I've said it time, when you're up, is the beginning of the fourth quarter. It's not the end. It's the beginning of the fourth quarter. Because you can put teams away in British Basketball League games with 5 minutes to go, and their shot selection, if they think they're not going to win, they will start reaching their shot selection. You'll get some cheap possessions out of them, and you'll go away. That's the time to put the hammer down. Newcastle didn't put the hammer down. They gave Bristol momentum. In-game momentum is a thing. Between-game momentum isn't, but in-game momentum is. And then the last 4 minutes, I think the timeout, Bristol went an 8-0 run whereby they got 2 open threes, and Green fell asleep on a backdoor cut for a dunk. And Newcastle, I think, turned the ball over twice and maybe had 1 pass and 3 offenses.
So Johnson had 7, Ollison 3. That got them 76-84 ahead with 2 to play, and that's Darius fouled out, and then Mark got a technical as well. Newcastle did get it to 3 with 45 seconds to go, but Lucas missed. Johnson came from the 3-point line, tipped it. He was trying to tip it in, but it bounced alive. Lucas got the ball back, and that was the game.
Yeah, I mean, the game was, as I said, the game was also Bristol 20-20 from the foul line, Newcastle was 12. But more than that, it was an absolute game of momentum. As I say, you cannot give up 48 points and that's 13 minutes of a game on your own floor and expect to win. Don't care how good you've been beforehand. You give them 50 points in literally a quarter and a quarter. And there's very few of them were fouls at the end. It wasn't like there was a procession at the foul line. No, there wasn't. This game was live. So their Newcastle's ability to kind of, they've got a massive hole at the 4 spot basically, which they haven't been able to fill. So they either having to play very small, which wears them down, or they play very big and they can't defend anybody. Bristol. Oh, sorry. By the way, I must stop. I've talked a lot about Newcastle now, and I'm going to get on. And the highlight of the night for me, I was waiting afterwards for a brief conversation with a friendly Scottish ref, and yeah, they do exist. And I was approached by a lady, and undoubtedly a Bristol fan with a Bristol shirt on, from, I'm afraid, somewhere in America, who told me that I was the person that she watched every night, and he didn't mention you on the Sunday breakdown, and how I never mentioned Bristol's injuries, and how I never gave them any credit. And I kind of said, I don't normally give anybody any credit, but even
it's true.
That's
his natural demeanor.
That's
give
my
nobody any credit for anything. Find the
yeah.
negative in it all.
I think if you just fast forward to the kind of your team's games, then when you win, you get very little, and when you lose, you get slated. You see, so and I'm afraid I've forgotten her surname, but Tejan's mother.
Okay.
Bristol, you whooped ass. You took them to the cleaners. You were awesome.
They were
everything they had to do. They won on the top floor. Give them some props. I'm giving them some props. So Tejan's mom, that was the highlight of my week. Actually being told to give them some props. So I'm going to give them some props and give her some props. And at the end, we finised with a little hug. Just
nice.
A little.
That's nice. To be fair, they have had a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah. You're searching for credit now as well.
Yeah. But they now look reasonably wholly formed, actually,
They
Bristol.
do. Well,
Yeah.
I think Smith coming back's given them a big boost because without Graham, but Smith playing those minutes at the 4,
Mm,
that's a bonus.
mm,
You know, I mean, if he can make those plays at the 4 consistently, that is a real bonus for him because he kind of fills in Graham Bell's shoes, you know. So when Bradley's a bit hit and miss, so when Bradley's off, then Smith comes in, and the guards are good.
mm,
You know, they're big. I mean, it's interesting, you know, in looking at them and thinking they don't shoot the ball particularly well, and they can have games where they're way off, and they have games when they're way on. Um, but looking at them, they are wholly formed. They're they've now, basically gone to Cheshire, Leicester, Newcastle, 3 games in a row,
mm.
and handled business. And they're actually kind of the type, they're definitely a team you wouldn't want to face in the playoffs. Most teams are teams you don't want to face in the playoffs because of all the good things. So it's a bit of a cliche. But certainly, if I'm, for instance, if I'm Cheshire, I'm more worried about Bristol than I am about probably certainly Newcastle or Leicester.
Yeah.
Because of just what all of the various pieces that they have.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, they've kind of hit their they kind of hit the
It,
hit
it
their
it may be the
straps, haven't they?
downside for having all those points and all that point differences that you
Yeah, they
might
ended with
end up with
Bristol. Yeah,
Bristol.
no, it'll be a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
series. I mean,
yeah.
as I say, it's just that Bristol are most equipped to defend Cheshire's sides because they basically have an equal amount of wings.
Mm,
You know, they have Jacob and Ollison and Thomas Edwards to come on as well, and Lucas is a big point guard, um, and Kenny Johnson as well. So
mm.
they got all those guys who are decent size, to match up with the Cheshire guys who are decent size. So that I think that'll be a funner matchup than most 2-7s normally are, actually.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Johnson, 32.6 rebounds, 8 assists. McGill, 13 points. Whitfield, 13 of 25 from the free throw line, Newcastle.
Yeah, and the bigs basically gave them very little. They don't throw the ball at the bigs enough. I mean, Green didn't deserve it being thrown to him in this game. But it takes the timeout. It takes Mark to call the timeout to call a play to throw the ball to Darius. They don't, to get people moving off him or to get something going to the basket. There's a lot of dribble stuff, which is fine if you've got your spacing. A lot of dribble handles, a lot of screen roll. But if you've got no spacing, it just ends up being kind of a club toilet type of
Mm,
stuff. Johnson's a gamer. Johnson played, he's really, but he's a gamer, but he's a scorer. He's not a point. He is a point guard. He's a scoring guard in the point guard's body.
mm,
I think that's what I would describe him as.
mm. Ollison, 21. Johnson, Keedy Johnson, 18 points. Great in the fourth quarter. Bradley, 14. 20 of 20 from the free throw line. Let's go to Friday. Plymouth City Patriots, 57. London Lions, 93. No Decker, Nawaba, Grantham, and Taylor. I think that was right. Lions with 10 in a row to lead 6-22, and after that, the gap was never in single figures, and I was slightly distracted as I was banging the
You're
forward.
going to tell me now that maybe the pat the dog,
Mm.
set a firework up and burnt the pavilions down or something because I didn't watch it.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, second bottom against a team that's won the league by miles and miles. Better thing to do with my time. Sorry, guys.
yeah. Wiley, 14. Copeland, 13. Atwood, 12. They shot 32% from the floor. Connor Morgan, 7 of 9, 20.7 rebounds, 5 assists. Sandy, Uday, and Sharma all had 10 points. They had 47 bench points. Bear in
Yeah,
mind,
well,
57 was all Plymouth
just
had in total.
no real contest.
Sheffield Sharks, 69. Caledonia Gladiators, 62. No Onwas still. I must confess, I saw this coming. And I'll tell you why I saw this coming, because
Yeah.
because it was partly I thought of you, Dave, was the thing.
Mm.
I was obviously at BBL TV. I'm not allowed to say those letters, am I?
Yeah.
TV HQ on Thursday night doing Newcastle, uh,
Yeah.
Bristol.
Bristol.
And in the little edit room there, Dan, I could hear him cutting up a Q Money piece for the
Oh,
Sky Sports
yeah.
game. And I thought, here we go. This is exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
The whole everything is wonderful and let's do all of this. And I thought this is not going to end very well, is it?
No, it never does. Teams have bounce back games, players have bounce back games, and the bounce backs aren't always positive games.
Yeah, yeah.
It can just be things can just be a little bit too easy. And Sheffield's probably not the place to go when your things have been a little bit too easy because they generally don't make it easy for anyone.
No. Did I mention On West was out? I can't remember.
Yeah, he's still out, yeah.
So let's see if we can figure out what happened 4 minutes and 20 seconds into the first quarter. Atiba was not very happy about something. He seemed to feel some calls were going against him. And I must admit, I was doing EuroLeague this night and somebody texted me and said, when was the earliest anybody's been ejected? And I was like, who got ejected? So I went into watching this knowing he got ejected very early. So I was looking hypersensitive for what it was that would be the triggers. And I must confess, I didn't see what it was that.
No, neither did I. I mean, now I watched it back. I watched the first 5 minutes back again. So I didn't watch this game live, and someone tweeted me saying something about that, and I said, "Oh, I haven't watched it yet, but I'll watch it with some interest now." Well, I mean, the game plan was to put Ratinho on Claudia Green, and Ratinho committed to fairly obvious fouls on Claudia Green, which you couldn't pick an argument with, I don't think. Then there was a play down the other end just before kind of the anger, where Aitel Rock went to the rim, but Kyle Johnson was kind of close to him, but there wasn't really much in the way of contact that I could see. Certainly not enough to kind of warrant that. And then, yeah, it was all a bit weird. It got me thinking of the greatest basketball coach in history, Coach Norman Dale.
Norman Dale.
Norman Dale of the Hickory Hoosiers.
Oh,
Hickory Huskers.
Yeah.
Coach Dale, who when he wanted to give his assistant coach a bit of time, he pulled the referee over and asked him, have you got chicken shit in your eye? To which the referee responded, "No, coach, it was just a call." I thought, "No, throw me out the game." What? Throw me out the game? I'm not going to throw me out the game. Oh, okay, well, you're out of here. What? Well, that's still the best movie. Anybody who actually listens to this podcast who hasn't watched Hoosiers or Best Shot as it's known over here, watch it before next week. Otherwise, I won't forgive you. It's awesome. Awesome study and coaching. Absolutely awesome. But it got to that point whereby, because there was a timeout, and my understanding is, I mean, I don't think the TV got it right, but I've made some inquiries with people. I think basically, the first technical was kind of before the timeout, and the second technical was kind of after the timeout.
It looked to me like he might have got a warning as well before the first technical, and that actually all he kept doing was going back round and back round and back round. But
I suppose then there's the argument, which is, what's the difference between what he did and what Kapoulis did at Bristol in that game? But the difference that Atiba's 6'6", and Andreas is 6 foot, and Atiba was able to kind of, penetrate the wall of his assistant coaches a bit more often than Andreas did. I still don't see it. I thought it was, bizarre looking at it. I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe because you don't even light a fire up on your team after 4 minutes. Your team's thinking we're still getting at the rhythm of this game. You haven't seen enough of the game to be thinking I got to do something up, so I got to go apeshit here just to get a response. So it just kind of left me a bit.
Yeah. So anyway, they 2 technicals disqualified. They made both free throws. A 7-0 run, which was actually part of a bigger 14-2 run. And Caledonia were 21-8 up at the end of that run.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time Sheffield has started slowing that, in the gym, but they generally come back very well. There's a few games now where they've been struggling at the beginning and got off a bit slow. Caledonia, obviously Green was 4-19 in this game, and Jimenez played some minutes, and Malcolm's playing instead of Onwas, so they're a little bit out of kind of the normal rotations and normal rhythm a little bit. And Sheffield kind of wear you down, and I thought that's what they did. I thought there was some degradation in Caledonia's offense. When you've scored 115 points last week, there always is going to be just a little bit. I thought they were set. I thought Green to a certain degree was defended. They defended with a more physical defender. They were up on the screens. They had a plan for him, to be fair. I don't think it took him entirely out of his game, but it discomforted him enough that when you add on the fact that he'd been, he'd been getting all the hype and ripping up the league and all this stuff, you throw that together with the fact that things aren't quite right at the beginning, then he never gets into that rhythm over the game, and that kind of helps you.
Pipkins with 7 of a 12-0 start to the second quarter had Sheffield ahead 24-23.
This is the thing that we've kind of slept on a little bit, not too much because I mentioned it, but still slept on it a little bit. Sheffield's starting 5 has 3 bona fide BBL starters in Nixon, Pipkins, and in fact Pipkins was all-star, and
Sheffield's bench
Nichols and Kipper Nichols. And actually Rod Glasgow is also a British Basketball League starting quality guard as well. So they're coming in with some high-level guys against opposition second units, and that is, in particular when Nixon is running, Nixon's kind of settled into that. Because initially he was playing the 2 guard, played in and out. There's one game he only played 6 minutes, and you're wondering kind of what's going on. But he seems to have been given that role, and players benefit from having that specific responsibility and specific role. And he's been given that role of coming in at the 5-minute, 6-minute mark when Rock and the point guard. Oh, how did I forget the point guard's name? Ramsey, sorry, I didn't say any. Ramsey. When Rock and the Ramsey go out, then then he comes in. So and he's actually been a big thing for them. And then they've ridden Green's offense and Green's athleticism to get some points as well. So that kind of got them into the game. And once they were in the game, the tempo of the game was always in their favor, I thought.
I didn't, as I say, I didn't see what raised Atiba's ire in the first 4 minutes, but there was a couple in the second quarter that would have raised his ire were he there. I thought there was a random technical on Kipper Nichols I couldn't quite work out on a 3-point shot, and there was a block by Cook that was called a foul as well.
I think the call on Nichols was that they called. I think they called a foul on him after the shooter had landed.
It was down as a technical though.
There was no other foul called.
No.
Oh, I couldn't. Well, it's bizarre. They
Yeah.
absolutely didn't get it at all. And I don't think, and this is an aside for a number of different British Basketball League venues. I think we're doing a very, very poor job at the moment of explaining calls to the crowd. Certainly are at Newcastle. Certainly at some of the other places as well. When you're hearing the announcers, unless it's Shafty telling you what's going on, and you hear it in the background over the commentary, we're just not getting the information. There was a call against in the Newcastle game, not this game, but the last game that they played. Can't remember who it was against now, though, blur into one. I actually was able to chat with Neil McKelvey. Neil, what's going on when the clock had stopped for the 3rd time? It's like, I'm only 2 rows away from Neil. Something to do with the shot clock. That was it, because but no one's getting any information at all about some of this stuff and when the vast majority of people in the crowd don't know what this means on sportsmanlike foul. That means 2 shots, and I'm afraid there is an information gap which is developing, and the entertainment is fine. You can play all the party tunes you want. If you don't tell the crowd what's going on, then that unfortunately perpetuates some of the negativity towards the rest, because the crowd's got to understand it.
Yeah.
And there's times this year that I haven't. I've been in every circumstance imaginable virtually, and if I don't know what's going on, then no one's got a clue. To be frank.
It's 20 years ago now, but when I used to do it, that used to be one of the things I would quickly, when the crowd were up, giving the referees hell, and the referee was right, I would try and explain to the fans why.
No, just explain what you can do it in the whatever tone of voice you want, can't you? You can do it. You can do it in your.
Oh, there were other times I did it in a tone of voice that suggested I might have disagreed, but
I mean, Vince was the king of that.
Yeah.
And Vince was on the mic. He used to throw shade at everybody. Without kind of doing it, And I mean, to the point where you're looking and thinking, "What, really, Vince?" But and there's a couple of times where certainly Neil Wilkinson has been across has taken his microphone off somebody. I think in the past we've been there. But I do think we need to do a better job on some of that stuff, because if commentators don't know and I don't know and you don't know, I'm watching it, no one's got a clue. If you haven't looked at live stats, that's a failure of communication. Anyway, it was an unevenly ref game, I thought. But what happened was that Sheffield came out the aggressor in the second half, and they got the
Yeah.
benefit of it.
So Gladiators were up 7 at halftime. Sheffield started 10-0 in the second half, 40-37. And then Kipper Nichols with a 4-point play on the third quarter buzzer made it 54-47.
I thought the game turned on Clifton Moore regressing to being a rookie again. Picked up
Is this the game he got 3,000 in like 2 minutes?
3,000 in a
Yeah,
minute and a half.
yeah.
And the second, and they were good. They were proper calls. The second one was a bit maybe a slightly cheap offensive foul, but he can't get 3 fouled because then they had to play Oscar Baldwin for like 8.5, 9 minutes. Oscar Baldwin played from the 8.5 minute mark to the 8 minute mark in the fourth quarter. That's nearly 10 minutes now. Oscar's been playing probably 3 or 4 minute stretches.
Yeah.
He hasn't played 10 minutes against Sheffield, with Coke and Delpeche. And also that impacts their it impacts everything. It impacts their it impacts Green's play because Green's not playing with his guy. He can't be throwing lobs up there anymore. So he hasn't got the same chemistry with Baldwin that he's got with Green. It impacted their offense because I think they scored 10 points. They scored about 8 points in those 10 minutes. And it wasn't because it was Baldwin was in the game, but it's just because Green opens up so much for everybody else. And I was surprised when he actually didn't come back in at the beginning of the fourth quarter. I think he came in about a minute gone in the fourth quarter. A big kind of, get your guys on the floor and let them foul out type of play coach, rather than save them for something when things aren't working. So I thought that enabled it to become Sheffield's type of game whereby they could just be methodical, get stops, and just drag themselves away from Caledonia, without having more on the court. That's a big loss for them. And Onwas as well. That's two big losses for them. And I don't think they could withstand that in that third quarter.
So let's get to the end. Sharks up 5 in the closing stages. 1:54 to go. There was an 8-second violation called against the Sharks. I'm not sure it was an 8-second violation.
Was it a 15-second job or a 6-second
It's
job?
a 15-second shot clock. And
Borderline, yeah.
Because I went back and slowed it down to quarter speed. When the call was made, it still said 16 on the shot clock.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And the ball was being passed at that moment. When the ball was caught by the player in the front court, it still said 16 on the shot clock. Now, there's 2 explanations. Number one, the person operating the shot clock could stop it as soon as the referee blew the whistle, and therefore we wouldn't know if it had reached 15 before it was established in the front court. But if you do it as slowly as I did, it actually ticks down to 15 and then jumps back up to 16.
All right.
Which is weird.
We've got some reversing clocks in Sheffield, have we?
It was weird. But let's say it was very, very close, but I thought Sheffield were a little.
Here's the thing, right? I mean, this is one of the things about the British Basketball League, which is unusual about it. Every little venue has its own idiosyncrasies, right? So we used to go to Glasgow every year, and when you go to Glasgow, there'd be a delay on the game clock, which meant that when they pushed the button, it would probably about 0.6 or 0.7 of a second would run off, right? But that 0.6 or 7 second wouldn't come on straight away either when they started it again.
Okay.
Right. So you had this mad situation whereby, there's 1 second gone and the clock's still ticking after the ball's dead. Nobody can see it.
Yeah.
It's like, what? No, that's the way it works. It's like, no, it doesn't bloody work. Fix it. But it never did.
Yeah.
And so maybe Sheffield have got a Benjamin Button clock going on there.
Well, there was something weird happening there.
Yeah.
I thought they were unlucky. Anyway, Cook then blocked Green, but Bothwell got the offensive rebound and Cook fouled him, his 4th. He went 1 for 2, so it's 64-60. Nixon misses a 3. Moore misses a 3. It wasn't entirely convinced by the shots.
That was kind of how discombobulated they were. If Moore had been playing most of the third quarter, he wouldn't be shooting that shot with a minute to go. That's not. That's just. No, I mean we had. Remember we lost a game in the COVID year when we had a guy called John Mitchell playing for us. John was a interesting fella, but one of the he decided he was going to shoot 2 threes in the last 2 minutes of a game early on in the season. It was like. Shot them all season. Moore's made a few, but not to that point.
Malik Green then went way too soon, turned the ball over.
Yeah,
Caledonia had an easy run back for Bothwell, 51 seconds to go, 64-62. And then Nixon again went a little quicker than I would have wanted him to go, but he got fouled
yeah.
by Green and he made both free throws, so it's 66-62 with 40 seconds to go. Timeout, advance the ball. Green misses a step back three. It looked on the board like all the drawing Gareth was doing was about driving to the rim.
Yeah. Well, he made two in the last game, didn't he, when
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
down?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and this is kind of the thing when you've got a mercurial guy like him.
Mm,
He's 4 of 17 or 4 of 18, he's still shooting it.
mm,
And this is the thing with having talent. You live by it sometimes, and you also die by it sometimes.
mm.
That's why talent doesn't guarantee you anything in relation to victories.
Sheffield then iced it from the free throw line, and that was that.
I got asked a question on Twitter about this, I think, about kind of the psychology of getting thrown out of a game and that type of stuff at that point.
Mm,
Obviously, Marco welcome to the club, Marco. Did a
mm,
good job.
yeah.
And
It's
did a
not
good
his first
interview.
rodeo, to be fair.
It's not, but it's about
Yeah,
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 but in relation to 4 minutes gone in a game, I
yeah,
mean
yeah.
that's
There's a
I mean
lot of coaching to be
the only
done still.
I
Yeah.
mean it actually went back through my mind, and the only time I can remember if I ever getting thrown out was at Worthing in the clipboard game, and that was with two
Mm,
seconds to go when the game was
mm,
finished. And then he got managed to get himself thrown out of a pre-season game
mm,
in overtime, had to coach overtime. But other than that, he was pretty good at staying in the game. So I mean, what he did a really good interview at half time, where Drew was trying to get some kind of gossip from him or some view, some bit of controversy about, what had happened with the team, and he just played it really straight and just said, "Look, my job is to, for them execute the plan and maintain the plan and do the things that we work on that we've worked on in practice and just keep it going the way it's meant to go." So so credit to him for that because that wasn't an easy game to coach either.
mm,
It's not easy. They're not an easy team to coach, Jeff, because they've got a lot of players.
mm,
You've got a lot of balancing to do. But I think they appear to be together as a group, which is that they're at that point whereby they're on their upsurge because
mm,
they've got a team which is still quite fresh together. It's only maybe 2.5 months old as a team, and also they've got all the home games coming up because they
mm,
played all their away games early, which kind of impacted their record. So they're on an upswing. The question is whether they've got an extra kind of boost to get them kind of in the playoffs over the teams that they're going to need to play to get to the final in the playoffs. But no, I thought that overall, they came out at half time. After half time, the aggressor,
mm.
and that's to the message that's been delivered in the locker room. So you got to give him credit for that. I'm interested in the rules. Obviously, a coach who's thrown out, watching from the suite above,
The
is that
office
allowed?
above, yeah. I don't,
I don't know. I'm
I
not saying
don't
it's
know.
not.
I
I
had,
don't. No.
because I was fast forwarding through
Mm,
various bits of the game. I hadn't actually seen that when I
yeah.
watched it. Somebody then said it to me, and I was like, yeah, I might have advised the director against cutting that one up just in case it is against the rules.
But is it against the rules?
I don't know. They're
Because you're
supposed to
not you're
go
not in
off
the
somewhere. You're
arena.
not in the
I mean,
arena,
you can
so
go to the change
therefore,
rooms and watch the game on TV,
yeah,
for instance.
yeah, exactly,
I mean, obviously, you're
exactly.
not allowed to communicate with the coach or with the assistant coach. So if there's any dodgy texting going on, that wouldn't be
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That could happen
No.
anyway when you're watching the game on the TV.
Well,
Uh,
I remember a game, and I can't even remember who the coach was, where it was in an old sports hall, and they were ejected, and they were up on a balcony looking through the curtains, sort
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Uh,
Yes, I think. Uh,
I feel like it was on the south coast somewhere, but I can't remember. Could have been
yeah,
Portsmouth.
yeah. I think
Oh,
there's certainly times when a ref, I recall, refs pointing up at the crowd saying, "Off you go,"
yeah,
that
yeah,
type of
yeah, yeah.
thing.
And
Um,
even I was doing, was it a Euro League game last year or something where, or was it EuroCup? Maybe somebody got ejected, and you could see them in the tunnel. They'd
it's
walked
only-
off down the tunnel, but they were still in the tunnel.
yeah. Anyway, I was just intrigued by
I
that. I
don't,
mean,
I don't know as to what the
yeah.
what the
This is a type of minutiae which takes up
which
5 minutes.
intrigues us. Yeah. Everybody else is doing that old fast forward button now.
Yeah, yeah.
Pipkins 14, Ramsey 10, Cook 10. Green, there is another one actually. There was some other ruling thing that happened today that I wasn't quite sure about. Oh, the shot clock. The shot clock thing.
Right.
Which game was that in? I
Oh no, it's
tweeted
a
about
Sheffield game. It's a Sheffield Cheshire game. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
where there was a foul call, but the
Shot
shot
clock was on
clock
zero.
it had already gone off, and it was an air ball, and there was a foul called going for the rebound, and I was like, at what point
Is the
is the
shot finished?
violation a violation?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think probably when the shot is concluded, I would have thought.
But
So
what
if
is the conclusion? Is that somebody
the,
getting
when the
hold of the ball
possession
or
is
missing the rim?
when possession is obtained, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
because to me it felt like actually that foul came after
Yeah,
the
it did.
violation, and therefore should have been wiped off. It was because it was the
Well,
Cheshire
the Cheshire guys were
boys.
saying that, and I think
Yeah,
that they had an argument. But
yeah,
I think if the foul comes once the rebounder's got his hands on the ball,
yeah,
absolutely. If
yeah,
the
yeah,
foul is before the rebounder touches the ball, I think the
yeah.
ball's probably still live, even though it's got no chance of hitting the rim. Technically, the act of the shot hasn't finished yet.
My sense of it is that it had already gone past the rim, so
Hmm.
therefore it was.
I don't know if they're allowed to
Don't
make that
know.
determination. I think
Yeah, I
it'll be.
don't
I
know.
think it must be change of possession. Otherwise,
I would, if somebody referees listening, if they want to message me and
yeah,
tell me when the shot
absolutely.
clock violation becomes a
It'll be the three
violation.
at Sheffield who'll
Yeah,
message
rightly
say
tell
we
me
were
this.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, come on,
yeah,
we know
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Green 15.7 assists, 4 of 19 shooting. Moore 13 points, 13 rebounds, 3 blocks. Paliza was a minus 20 in 20 minutes. He was.
Yeah, he's.
uh,
Yeah, I think
Baldwin
he's
was
very.
minus 17 in 13.
Yeah. So they, you know, police is a weapon, but you got to use them in the right way, and you have to have the ball popping around. I don't think the ball was popping around much for Caledonia in this game. There was a little bit of degradation, a little bit of happiness after the win last week, I thought, and losing almost is you lose almost for a game or two and kind of survive it, but there's a reason he's called a glue guy.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
don't have your glue guy, eventually you kind of come
Stop
unstuck. You
sticking.
like
Yeah.
that?
Let's go to Saturday. Surrey Scorchers 90, Newcastle Eagles 77. No Robinson and no Ward Hibbett still for both teams. Surrey not getting their usual diet of early threes. It was tight in the early stages, but then Hogan Degby, Lawrence Cooper hit 2. They were 5 or 6 in the first quarter and were 28-18.
Yeah, I mean Newcastle failed to stop anything in the first half of this game. I think you pointed out in the commentary that Surrey had 51 points in the first 17 minutes, which if you add that to the 48 points Bristol had
Yeah, yeah.
in the last
13
last
minutes.
13 minutes of that game,
Yeah,
that meant they'd given up a gargantuan 99 points in 30 minutes
yeah.
of British Basketball League basketball.
Mm,
And that ultimately, actually, that's why they lost the game because yet again on the road, Newcastle haven't been able to play any defense in the first half. They managed to win one at Leicester in the same situation because Leicester kind of self-combusted and Taj Green got on fire. But that was a toss-up game, 95-95. Who makes the most shots? You can't do that all the time, not on somebody else's floor. Surrey looked like a real basketball team. They were controlled. They thoroughly deserved to win this game. I thought their game plan was right. I thought Newcastle's spacing at times was chronic in this game. The effort level was there. They're not trying. But their offense is degrading substantially in relation to relying on the guards to bail them out of stuff. And it got to the point in this game whereby Mark had to go to the very rarely used Delpesh to full
yeah,
combination
yeah,
in the
yeah.
second quarter because Green was giving them nothing again. In fact, he doesn't. It's not a question of giving them nothing. He's negative. It was negative defensively, and the guards. I'm afraid they started off being focused on defending the 3-point line, but Quinn Cooper is a great shooter,
Mm,
and Andrew Lawrence came in, and Andrew Lawrence was the best guard on the court.
mm, mm,
And if you want to beat Surrey, then Andrew Lawrence or Justin Robinson, when he's healthy, cannot be the best guard in the court.
mm.
And Cameron Gooden was the second best guard in the court.
Yeah, yeah, he was.
So, um, So they kind of Surrey won because they were better, albeit I would still, if I put the two teams up against each other on paper, particularly without Robinson, I would expect Newcastle to win
Mm,
7 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10,
mm.
you know? And that's because Surrey executed better, they moved the ball better, they got better shots. And they just, Newcastle, to be honest, to me, looked like they were kind of where Bristol were 2 or 3 weeks ago, kind of just running out of gas at the end of the year,
Mm.
just mentally more than anything else.
So sorry, we're cruising just before half time, leading 51-36, but Newcastle last 10 points on the half to make it a 6-point game.
Yeah, that was Del Pesh and Defoe combination,
Mm,
and because they're always Newcastle always going to score. They can score the ball. I mean, even this game, they shot up Impsonby and scored like 79 points. But they can't get stops.
mm.
You know, just to score enough to win games on the road, and Defoe
It,
and Del Pesh together assisted them in getting stops.
Yeah, it got back to 10 pretty quickly, and then that was kind of the remainder of the game, sort of out to 10, back down to 3 or 4 or so, and then Gooden with 5 in a row probably made it safe with 3 minutes to go to add
Yeah, I mean the
a
guard,
score.
yeah, Lawrence and Gooden, basically, the game that Surrey lost last week. And when the Cheshire, when they could have won, when the guards really didn't make the plays they needed to make near the end to keep the score ticking over. That happened in this game. The guards
Mm.
did, you know, and Gooden's and Newcastle failed to finish at the rim. I mean, Austin's really struggling with he's over pressing. His energy is great, but he's over pressing. He's missing layups that he's never missed in the past. He's committing charging fouls on the break. He's basically stopped shooting the ball at all from outside of like 4 feet. But they need him on the court because his energy is kind of the one thing that's keeping them alive at times. Surrey just looked like they got that nice ball movement. Jameson again did his job. Teo came in and did his job, and they just looked like a group that was ready for that game a little bit more than Newcastle did, I thought.
On the subject of Austin failing to score at the rim,
Yeah.
2:12 to go. Eagles on a fast break. There may have been a goaltend. Wang hit the backboard, but that was before the shot. And then I went back and forth on this, slowed it down. I couldn't work out whether Mohammed got the ball or the backboard. And I'm not even sure it would have gone in, even if he did get the backboard, to
I
be
think that
honest
was. I
with
think
you.
you got. I think when the backboard's being whacked like that, I think
Yeah,
when the ball, it wasn't like it was too high and it's gone over the
yeah.
backboard. You
I
know,
thought the initial one from Wang, he definitely hits the backboard, but I think that's sufficiently away from the time of the shot to not count as a
yeah, I was
pass
talking about the
interference.
second one, Mohammed.
The second one,
Yeah,
what I couldn't work out was, did Mohammed get a bit of the ball or did he hit the backboard? And if he hit the backboard, then the ball was so far
I
so low it wasn't going to get up and over.
yeah. Well, as I
But
say, you hit the backboard when the ball's basically on the backboard. I think the answer is you don't know how where it's going to go.
so
Um, so they missed that. I
So they
think
missed that, and Austin starts complaining, and know your scout report. He picked the wrong person to complain to. Keith Williams gave him a technical, and then Mark joined in, and he got two in
well,
very short order.
he did. I mean, he lost it. I mean, I think it was a combination of frustration with his team and to a slight degree frustration with the rest. But I think frustration with his team probably a little bit more. Those kind of disqualifications when the game is done are
Yeah,
generally
yeah,
frustration disqualifications, and we've seen it this year quite a lot. I mean, I will say again, as you say, know your scout report. McGill picked up a technical from Williams early on in the game, which was
mm,
one of those things whereby no one would have noticed anything if had it not been called.
mm,
And it's some of the things that these guys just have to understand. There are people you can't talk to.
mm,
I'm quite sure. I mean, McGill's got a bit of he's got a little bit of a mouth. He's picked up a couple this year,
mm,
but that's probably the first time he's seen Keith Williams.
mm,
And um, and I would get my guess is he's probably said a similar thing to him that he said to other refs and been fine with,
mm,
but you can't do it, because of what there is. And it was just a reference to an on-call,
mm.
but yeah, I think. ultimately, to a certain degree, they're certain Newcastle circling the wagons a little bit. We can blame everybody else,
Yeah,
us
yeah,
against the world, that type of stuff.
yeah.
They weren't in that game to win it. I'm afraid they
No.
weren't. They weren't close to winning it, and you can't come out having lost the game at Bristol that you did, and then give up 51 points in 17 minutes to Surrey without Justin Robinson.
Mm.
That's you just can't win that way. But for Surrey, they have, as I say, they're at this point they're a pretty solid basketball team. They kind of know each other's roles. They will go as far as Gooden and Lawrence take them if Robinson can't come back. I mean, that's their big. They're going to get consistent kind of. They're going to get everybody else is going to do what they do, but it's a little bit like Cheshire. Cheshire are going to go where Rye and
Rideau.
Rideau take them.
Mm.
Sorry, are going to. I mean, they might end up still in London, in which case they're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how well they play is going to be
Yeah.
dependent upon those guards.
Not the venue to get disqualified from, as an
No, it's
away
not. You got to
coach.
walk all the way.
Wow,
No, you walk all the way
I'll
around.
watch people go, see ya.
Yeah, that was a sight. That was a sight of Trey Moore's last
Yeah,
game in the
yeah,
UK.
yeah.
Being disqualified at Surrey. Disqualified for breaking his foot. I think both. I think he broke his foot and then swore at someone on the way out. So he might not have been disqualified. But anyway, no, it's not. You get the whole crowd waving at you, and it's like, it's a walk of shame for coaches, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
It's a walk of shame for coaches.
Gooden with 18 points. Cooper 13 points, 3 shots for 13 points.
No, it's not bad, is it?
Lawrence 12 points and 8 assists. Wang 12 points and 8 rebounds. They were only 8 of 19 from three. Can't
Yeah,
beat you
but I think
with
Newcastle,
twos,
when they
but they
played them
can
last
beat
time.
you with ones, Dave. 24 of 30 from free
Yeah,
throw
well,
range.
they did, and I think last time, Newcastle played them, they took the way the threes quite well as
Mm,
well.
yeah,
But in the end of the day, Cooper's got 13 points on 3 shots. That's not
yeah,
acceptable.
yeah, yeah.
That's the game.
Mm,
That's the game, and it's not easy to defend him. I get that. And certainly, I think one of the fouls that was called on Johnson in the corner was. I watched it back and I was like, maybe, maybe not. But even so, at that point, he's already made two. He
mm,
can't be lacking diligence on him, and they were. And no, so I'll say sorry. Unfortunately for them, probably not going to escape eighth.
mm.
But yet they're going to end up with probably 14 or 15 wins, which is a bit unfortunate, but it's kind of a testament to how poor Plymouth and Manchester have been recently. Um, but no, they thoroughly deserved it.
Johnson, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. McGill, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, but they were a combined 10 of 29. Austin, 11. Newcastle were 35% from the floor and 4 of 20 from three.
That's all, and you think, well, why is he talking about defense? Because at the end of the day, if they defended the first half, in a semi competent manner, then they'd still been in that game. And one of those guys can go off and make shots at the end. But their spacing is really, really chronic at the moment. Really chronic, and they're becoming an easy team to guard.
Bristol Flyers 87, Manchester Giants 67. No Borsia there. Obviously, Anderson's out. Goodwin wasn't there either, so they just had 3 on the bench. Manchester, which looked positively full compared to the later game.
Yeah.
Green was 6 early, very easy points. Bristol were missing a ton of threes. Andreas, despite the lead, needed an early timeout to sort of refocus minds, I think.
Yeah, they were missing a ton of threes, but they were allowed to stand there and shoot them, weren't they?
Shoot wide open
I think
threes,
Levi
maybe.
Bradley was over 5 from wide open threes.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I was saying, I think this ain't gonna last. Um, um, there's nothing much to analyze in this game.
No,
Manchester
they eased out
broken.
to 12 and then scored 12 in a row. It was 48-24 at
Yeah,
halftime.
and sorry, Bristol gave those guys a whooping.
They
They
did give
got
him a
stuck
whoop.
into him. That
Yeah,
Tijon look, no, seriously.
yeah,
And Bristol did what they had to do.
yeah, yeah.
But I'm not going to change the
No,
whole 4 seasons of this nonsense because somebody told me I had to be nice about
yeah,
somebody.
yeah, yeah.
They did what they had to do.
The
Uh,
coffee thing was the best bit of the game, to be honest with
no,
you. The coffee thing, the fact that they all got free coffee because Legend Roberta missed 2 free throws.
I didn't know that. I wasn't. I obviously.
Yeah,
I was sorry.
You
I
need to
don't think I
get.
watched the second half. Did I watch? I
It
mean,
was in the first half, mate.
was
It was
it?
on an
That gets you free coffee,
unsportsmanlike
does it?
foul. Yeah, you need to go if you go onto Bristol Flyers social media. They've clipped it up for you so you can
Doing a
see the
free
whole.
coffee promotion.
Yeah, it was a rugby player owns a coffee shop.
Ah, that's why they focused on somebody in the crowd.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Ah, right. I
yeah, yeah,
see. I thought he. Ah, right. I knew he was.
yeah,
Obviously, he's very famous in Bristol. I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
that it's
Well,
much
he's
kind
he's
of
he's
thing you
very
do, is it?
popular now. If you like
Yeah.
coffee,
Well, so you go in there and you get kind of a flat white, can you, or something
so
like?
basically you get free coffee because Roberta missed 2 free throws.
I say I don't drink coffee. I don't live in
Well,
Bristol, so it's of limited value.
and you don't have the voucher.
I don't have the
So
voucher.
you're
No,
basically it doesn't work for you, but it
that
was
doesn't
it
work to
was
me.
good
So I'm,
fun.
I'm
It was
consider
good
myself
fun for those
unenthused.
of us who needed something to talk about that didn't involve the
Yeah, all right. Oh,
game.
are we commentating on this
Yes,
one, were you?
yes,
Oh, right. Oh, that shows how interested I was.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
listening to your commentary. Sorry. Sorry.
Uh, Ollison, 24 points, 4 of 8 for three. Jacob, 15 points. Johnson, 15.6 rebounds, 5 assists. Lee, 22 points and 10 rebounds. Walsh, 13 points, 39 from field goal, 39% field goals. Um, what does that say? 35% from three, 52% from the free throw line as well, and 18 turnovers. So there would have
Still
been a
no
lot of
announcement from the
coffee.
league about the coach either.
No,
No, c'est la vie.
it's only 2 more games. So let's go to Sunday.
Hmm.
Sheffield Sharks 92. I said that like it wasn't today because I'm just used to saying that like it
Yeah.
should be today.
I know.
Sheffield Sharks 92, Cheshire Phoenix 99. White and Ben Thomas were back. Stevens was out. The only shots Cheshire made before their TV timeout were 2 threes. Sheffield with Cook getting 9, scored 12 in a row and led 20-6.
Yeah. I know. Trying to think. Who was it? Somebody told me about a theory they had. Actually, I think it was Rob Panostro. A theory that he had that if a team who gets one of these rare kind of two home game weekends generally plays really much better in the second game.
Mm.
Um, I think it was wrong. I might be putting words in his mouth. Sorry. Um, but I think there is something to it. Because it's rare that you get that kind of ability to get warmed up on your home court and then get another game without having to get on the bus and drive somewhere else and play in a different environment. And Sheffield came out, really sharp, and Cheshire came out quite lax. Again, Cheshire kind of teeter on the brink of bad shot selection at times. When it's a little bit early, in the offense, or when basically everybody's got the turn, everybody's got the green light to put it up and wants to get their own shots up. And to start with, I thought they were a little bit flat. As I said before, they're okay defensively, but they're not great. And I think Rye got a bad call, I thought, because he got fouled by, I think, Nixon or something, and he kind of moved up with his hand and he caught him in the chin. He got called for an offensive foul when the ref had missed the first foul. And he went to the bench, and that slowed them down a little bit as well. But they do, they do keep coming, you know.
Kristen got his third foul 40 seconds into the second quarter, and Sheffield's lead peaked at 34-17, but a couple of Chargois threes, one from Jack, Rye, Rideau. They had it down to 3 just before halftime.
And that's the thing with being so spiritable, and everybody on the court can shoot the ball. And when Macy or Jack can shoot it like that, then that's why I think I said last week, I don't think Sheffield are a good matchup for Cheshire. I think Bristol are a good matchup for Cheshire, but I don't think Sheffield are, because I think Sheffield would struggle to outscore them. I think that happened in this game. Cheshire basically played the numbers and made enough threes and made enough shots, even though that they lost a lot of the intangibles in this game. Sheffield were probably the more aggressive team. They probably got more in the way of kind of 50-50 balls, second chance points, all that stuff. They attacked the rim. But, if Rideau can come down the court and just throw it to Jack in the corner who can shoot it before he's even caught it and nail another three, then you're back down the other end in 5 seconds with 3 points in the bag. when it takes a lot to beat you, you know. And yeah, I just I thought Sheffield were okay, but this Cheshire team just keeps coming.
Sharks were up 5 in the third quarter. Jack and Sharkwar threes in a 10-0 run, 52-57. This was the game. This was where that call was, because I've
Yeah.
noted down the fact that White got a technical on the bench as a result of his argument, and Ben
Well,
was
he was
there.
stood up. There was two of them stood up, wasn't
Yeah,
there? I mean, the whole bench stood up. I mean, that was always a no-no when
yeah,
I was there.
yeah.
But,
And then Glasgow tied it at the start of the fourth quarter. Holden and Jack threes in an 8-0 run to 71-79. That, to be honest with you, that was
then they kind of keep going away, and it's a
yeah,
problem with again, Sheffield aren't particularly spiritable. Sheffield are more methodical. Up until Cheshire's kind of little meltdown near the end, there was a bit of a meltdown near the end.
yeah. It
Not as
wasn't
much as
enough of a meltdown to make you think
exactly.
that
Yeah, it was
Sheffield
a
were going to do it.
slightly more controlled
Yeah,
meltdown.
yeah,
They gave up a three to Nixon that they shouldn't have given up.
yeah,
And I think maybe a silly foul as well. I can't remember. But ultimately, made sure Jack made some shots in this game. I mean, he
yeah.
not just stand still, catch and shoot threes. He made a couple off the dribble. He got to I know you got a stat about him later.
Mm,
Um, and the problem is when you're playing Cheshire, it might be him one day, it might be Kristen the next day, it might be Stevens the next day.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And they're all third, fourth, fifth options. And so normally if you're doing a scouting report, you've got okay, we're going to guard Rye this way, we're going to guard Rideau that way, and they're going to get what they're going to get. But then it's like you normally pick the guy that you really want to stop next.
Mm,
And with Cheshire, you can't do that because you've got White, Jarjois, um, uh, Stevens, Jack, Kristen. It can all be them. Holden, it can be any one of them.
yeah,
And I don't think teams are well enough equipped to do that. They have this year got by far got the best complement of Americans, and they've got a kind of an all-star British player in Rye as well. But the complement of American, finding Americans like that, who are willing, because you've got 6 Americans changes the dynamic of a team. So to find 6 Americans like that who are all willing at times not to play as much, Holden might not come into the middle of the second quarter or something like that, but to still produce and to still stay together to do that, that's tough. And so they've obviously got the right mesh of personalities there as
yeah.
well.
Rideau fouled out on a technical with 3:19 to go. He had a triple double at that point.
I'm
And
glad he got his 11th rebound, man, because I wasn't very pleased. I wasn't very impressed with his 10th rebound.
well, I thought he would no, I thought because he gets the rebound because he was fouled. He
No,
was
he
going
was
for the
fouled before he
thing.
got the rebound. Doesn't count as a
Ah,
rebound. It's a loose ball foul.
well, where do you get put the rebound?
It's a team rebound, isn't it? It's a loose ball
Is it?
foul.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I
you
didn't have
like
this problem.
you like statistical.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah,
The
whereas
triple double
I'm
is a
looking to.
slight anomaly anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking to. Whereas
The
I'm looking
but
to.
Philip sent me a text which I managed to read whilst you were eating and prioritizing eating over going to work, Dave. Not that we get on
Fair,
to the next game
I
yet.
think I probably need to pass some of that now.
He asked when was the last time somebody got a triple double and fouled out, which I thought
No.
was an interesting question. And the answer is I haven't got one. In the
All right.
Leicester eras, it hadn't happened.
That's
There's
happened.
two players which randomly don't have fouls listed, but both of them played 39, 45 or something. So I'm assuming they didn't
Oh.
foul but yeah, so not happened before.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, I watch, watching Rideau is really interesting. I'm watching him more and more, particularly defensively. He rarely guards his man when
mm,
his man doesn't have the ball. That doesn't mean he just runs around anywhere, but he has this kind of notion, whereby he is going to be attracted to the ball.
mm,
If someone goes down low, if the ball goes down low, he is going to find himself in that mix where you see him pulling down those rebounds or getting a hand on balls, which is not his defender. And I think if I was coached against him, the starting point for me would be, look, guys, let's throw the ball in and then find LeQuincy's man and then throw it out again and find LeQuincy's man because he is going to rove is probably the word.
mm,
But, and he does it. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do it thoughtlessly. He does it when he knows there's a play to be made,
Mm.
and when he knows that it's unlikely that the guy who is got the ball in their hands is going to be throwing it out. And you watch games, I watch the games. We know when someone's shooting.
Mm.
You know when a guy's getting the basketball. You know if it's
Yeah,
going up, or you know if
yeah,
he's going to be
yeah,
throwing it
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
You know which guys do that and which guys don't. And the best defenders are the ones that know that as well. And the best help defenders are the ones that know when they can go help and when
Yeah,
not. So the reason the Quincy Rideau as a point guard gets 11 rebounds in that game isn't because there's lots of long rebounds falling into his hands. It's because when that ball goes down low and Bennett Coates got the basketball or Malik Green's got the basketball, and he knows that those guys aren't really looking to throw the ball out
yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's getting himself down there.
yeah,
So when the initial defender is challenging the shot, he's picking up the rebound.
yeah. It's Crandall-esque, isn't it?
And less like that. Yeah, it's now he's I'm still trying to figure out quite how cerebral he is because he's also emotional.
Yeah,
Crandall was a little bit like that.
yeah.
But
I'm
Crandall,
only talking in the Crandall got a disproportionate amount of rebounds for a 6 foot point guard.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
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 yeah.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Because he was down there.
He was down because he was
Yeah,
looking
I
to
mean, I
be
think there was
involved
one
in the
game was
play.
it at Plymouth where he had like 18, and
Yes, that's
most
right.
of them were defensive rebounds. It was like, what was he doing there? But
Yeah,
that's
but that's because
yeah.
you've got to know
Did you,
the
by the
phrase
way,
is
did you see that dunk, Gino
yeah,
Crandall?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, mate, Gino.
wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
That was kind of yeah weird because he was always a guy who would go in 17 different directions before he
yeah,
got to the rim,
yeah.
and then he was going straight down the middle and jumping it on somebody. But that's good. He's in the German BBL and he's doing really well. That's good.
Mm,
Yeah. So there's a real contradiction about Rideau because he's cerebral in the way that he plays the game, but he's also emotional
mm,
in the way that he kind of lives up to challenges, faces challenges,
mm.
and gets into it with the opposition and gets into it with the refs to a certain degree and
Yeah,
technique
yeah.
and all of that stuff. And normally you don't want your point guard to be a kind of semi-hothead,
Mm.
but it seems to be that it kind of fires him up a bit,
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So he's a really interesting, he's a really interesting character in relation to because he's he's the most impactful point guard in the league, I think. Um, probably not the most talented, but certainly the most impactful. Impact's more important than talent. Um, and that's because obviously the London guys only play 20 minutes each, so none of them count.
Mm.
Um, and everybody else, all the other point guards in the league, they all have things going for them. Even Quade Green, I'm not, but if I was at this point in time to kind of take a point guard, take point guard, to win a game for us in the last 10 minutes, it would be the Rideau and McKenzie,
Mm.
and probably it would be at this point, it would be Rideau. Um, so yeah,
Green, sorry, 18 points, 8 rebounds. Nixon, 15 points and 13 rebounds. Nichols, 12 points.
13 assists,
15 assists, sorry, yes.
13
Yeah.
assists, yeah.
13 assists, 15 points, 13 assists. Because that
Yeah,
was
maybe
the
if
other
you're doing your
part.
job, maybe if you
Yeah.
had sustenance, you'd actually get
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that was the other part of Philip's question was the last, or how many times have two players had half their team's assists? Because Rideau had 14. And that was too complicated to look up when
yeah,
you were
absolutely.
eating pizza.
Far too complicated.
So I have a Nichols 12. Jack 31 points, 9 of 10 shooting, 7 of 8 for 3.
And you missed a foul shot.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
hasn't missed many.
yeah, missed a couple, I think. Shagwar 20, Rye 16.7 rebounds, 6 assists. They were 16 of 34 for 3.
Yeah, they're not beatable. I don't think if they shoot 50% on the amount of threes they make, they shoot.
Rideau, the first player to have 2 triple doubles in the same season since Dante Nicholas, by the way. And I think Aaron Hardy was the only other player in the livestock era that had 2 in the same season. He had 2 in about 2 weeks, I think. So let's go to the final game. Caledonia Gladiators 96, Plymouth City Patriots 81. No Wiley and Green, who were in the airport but not on the plane. So they only had 6 players, one of whom was Jules Dangakodo, who had a shoulder injury.
Well, they should have come down the day before, then they could have got them in next.
Oh yeah, gone on a train or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you get the
yeah,
flight down the same thing. Oh, we heard it
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah,
No, I mean, yeah, crackers, isn't it?
yeah.
Crackers. I mean, it.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, though.
I'm assuming they were flying from Bristol.
I assume so.
Um, um, Bristol Airport is not a big airport.
I've never been.
I have. I flew down there once to watch the Eagles, actually. Did a Bristol, got on the train, Bristol to Plymouth, and then watched the Plymouth, and then this is before I was coach, and then went along the south coast to Brighton, I think the next day. That was when met my sister who was living down in London. That was when TJ Walker's partner gave the triangle at Burgess Hill the finger. Um, from the front row, turned around, 1,500 people. Lovely lass called Tiffany. Really interesting, really nice lass. But even so, it wasn't just a little finger either. It was a full
Yeah.
wind up, I remember I was actually refereeing at the end that show, that they weren't going to get her arrested for a Section 5 public order or something. Things that you do. Anyway, no, Bristol Airport it isn't the biggest place. How that happens, I mean, it's, I'm assuming it's an EasyJet flight. What the teammates do, but there's no one, thinking, we're last call. Let's go and get the guys, or the five of them just go on, think they'll follow us on later, or what? I mean, it just seems utterly mad. But that in the annals of becoming British Basketball League history, it probably doesn't cross the top 10, does it really?
It's different.
It's
a new
different, yeah. I have to
one.
say.
It's a
It's kind
new
of a
one.
2024 screw up,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
As
yeah.
opposed to the
Left them at their
crashing
service
your car on the
stations.
golf course and that type of
Yeah.
stuff. But
Oh dear.
what? It happened.
Well, I don't. Is that public? Was that? Did that make public? No, it has now, hasn't it?
Well. Anyway, it was 25 years ago, Dan. I think I'm
I
safe.
think it's probably more than 25
I
years
don't
ago.
imagine Casey Arena's listening to this.
Oh, he's named him in public. We don't have parliamentary privilege.
Maybe rubbish. Maybe no wives here. Oh well, there's other stuff as well, but other stuff that's happened. But I mean, it's just these two. It puts them in. Puts them in a. It means that basically, whenever anybody mentions their name in the UK, just like a guy who's failed a drugs test, it won't be how good a player he was, but he failed a drugs test, or it won't be how good a player he was he couldn't get on a plane. I mean, that's professionally, that's not great at all. And as I say, and I know PJ is obviously operating with a skeleton staff of what appears to be PJ. So he hasn't got anybody to, keep an eye on him in the airport and stuff like that. But he's not a babysitter. It's not his job. Yeah. And of course, if you have five guys, they play together and they play hard.
So almost is back, but of course, what I was taking my son back to Loughborough, and I was driving back, and then got three different people text messaging me about it, and I'm like, what has happened? I've only missed the first 10 minutes of the game. What has happened? And my instant thought was, ooh, Caledonia could win by 60 here, and if they won by 60, then suddenly the points difference falls in half, and they'd only need 3 results to go their way, and 20-point wins in all of them. It's all on, and
basically your statistically minded mentality ran away with you, because forgetting that teams with 5 players will generally play harder and play better.
Yeah,
You don't have to worry about not playing.
But given that they got what did they get beat by? This is
38
their
by London.
third game of the weekend. They got beat 80-112. They got beat 57-93, and there's only 5 of them. I don't think it was a massive
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah, well, he's still eating. Look, you see, he took
Yeah.
his meal on the plane with him. That's what
Well,
he
I
did.
will say though, I mean, just think that through logically though. You know what you're saying? You've only got 6 guys who are going to lose by 30. Look, if 2 of the guys that you're relying on to play big minutes for you in a professional basketball game aren't able to get on an aeroplane, right, in Bristol Airport, I think it's a bit of a stretch to suggest that they may actually be assisting you in winning that game. It may suggest a slight lack of mental focus.
Yeah. What did you make of the Dusha Green? I was about to say tete-a-tete, but it was more elbows a tete. What's the French for elbows? I'm not sure. They both
Well,
got a technical.
Spanish Arch, yeah. Well, I thought they were just posturing a little bit. I didn't. I
Yeah.
don't, what did you, I
Yeah.
mean,
I thought it could have been more, but yeah, yeah. I
I
wasn't.
wouldn't have. I wouldn't have thrown them out.
No, no. I thought maybe if you watch that on replay, is it unsportsmanlike? The first one from Douche, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't overly concerned, just interested. Gladiators 10 in a row to lead 18-8 and then 12-2. And that was the point where I'm going, this could be 60. Yeah, they've got a chance here.
yeah. No, I didn't think I had a chance. I thought they were going to play well because I thought they had five guys who were good basketball players
Mm,
who plays a team, um, who have kind of enough to compete. You're looking at Dusha, Joe, Copeland, Levi, and Atwood.
mm,
They're probably obviously Copeland's only been there 3 months, but they're the ones who showed probably the most professionalism over the course of the season. Obviously, Jules not able to play, and they always run nice. They go where they're meant to do.
mm.
They go where they're meant to go, and they do what they're meant to do.
When
They're
they play hard.
always going to have, and I've been there. You play against teams. You play down players, and the opposition looks at you like you're kind of a little fish and they're a
Mm.
crocodile. In the
Yeah,
warm
yeah,
up,
yeah.
and you think that. And it doesn't work like that
Mm,
because all it takes is a 10% drop in mentality from the opposition and a 10% increase from your five guys, and you're in the game. And the fact that you remain in the game gets more frustrating, so it kind of doubles over on
self
itself.
self
So
fulfills.
because they get more frustrated. You saw Kyle Johnson on the bench looking, oh man,
He
it's like,
laid into them.
just kind of they're all really frustrated because this isn't the way it's meant to be.
Mm.
But that's the way it is, that's the way it works.
So a hot 4 point play. Plymouth had 10 in a row, and that kept them in reach. And it, as you say, it sort of stayed like that. And then in the fourth quarter, Dusha with 5 points, Copeland on what was probably an unsportsmanlike foul. I'm not quite sure why it wasn't given an unsportsmanlike foul on Onwas. Um, he made two free throws, and it was 79-78 with 6 minutes to play, and Plymouth
Yeah,
actually had a chance to take the lead.
they
And
did.
and I at that point I was thinking, if Plymouth win this, is it the best win of the season? And I came to the conclusion it wasn't the best win of the season, but it would be the worst loss of the season.
Um, I think it would be. I think, yeah, I think that is indisputable that Caledonia can't be. Albeit there's nothing on the game. There's nothing on the game for Caledonia. Cheshire have already won that game this afternoon. Their chances of finishing upwards or downwards of third are basically nil. So that probably knocks it back just a little bit. Um, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't see Plymouth being able to get stops at the end
No.
because they're tired. They're playing 40 minutes. They're
Yeah,
undersized.
yeah.
They had their run in the fourth quarter. They made some plays, but it was always going to be the last 5 or 6 minutes, which were going to be tough for them. Um, Caledonia are playing quite a few players. They're changing the lineups around. When they put their first five on at the end in the game, they needed to be won. They won it.
Mm.
So
15
yeah,
points in a row they scored for so
yeah.
from
Well, that's
79-78 they scored the
that's what
next
legs
three.
does to you,
Yeah, yeah.
and that. I mean, there's a couple of shots in there that they had. Atwood had a shot. Copeland had a pull-up jump shot, 15-footer, which he's been making all season. They didn't make them because Joe Hart missed a couple of threes because they're tired. And that just eventually has an impact on you. But those guys have played professionally and committed all season. In a pretty difficult situation in a team that's being run by the league without an owner, which is losing money, which in reality is struggling to compete against kind of the increased level of the other teams. And those guys have, there's a lot to be admired in what the Plymouth guys have done. Although
Yeah,
at least the six who were there at the end.
yeah, 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 yeah.
In Caledonia, well, that game means nothing to them.
Mm. Whelan, 25 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 of 8 from three. Moore, 17 points. Poliza, 13 points. Atwood, 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Dusha, 19 points, 6 assists. Hart, 5 of 9 for three for 18 points. And they had 0 bench points.
Well, it's great for players. They're not coming out. They get to play.
Yeah,
Don't matter.
yeah, yeah,
Whatever shot you want, you're still playing. So,
yeah, yeah.
you play with freedom. It's cool.
Let's have a quick look at the league table. London 31-3, Cheshire 23-11, Caledonia 22-13, and the mathematicians at home will go 23-13, 22-13. Caledonia are. Cheshire's 23, Caledonia's 13 equals 36. So therefore, every result has to go the way of Caledonia, and they need 120 point swing, so it's not going to happen. So Cheshire are going to be second, Caledonia are going to be third. Sheffield are 18-17. Leicester and Newcastle are both 17-17. So that means Kimball Mackenzie is the front runner for the comb. Leicester, if they win their last 2 games, will finish fourth because they have the head-to-head with both Sheffield and Newcastle. If they lose one of their last 2 games, then Sheffield have the head-to-head with Newcastle, so Sheffield would need Sheffield would basically be through with a win. Newcastle need Leicester to lose and Sheffield to lose and to win both their games.
But they're rubbish at home anyway, so
yeah, it might help. Bristol 16-19, Surrey 14-20, and again that adds up to 36. But Surrey have the head-to-head, so if Surrey won their last 2 and Bristol lost their last one, they would finish above them.
And technically, Bristol can catch Newcastle.
Technically, Bristol can catch Newcastle. Yes, you're right.
Albeit Newcastle would have to lose to Manchester.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is kind of why I didn't factor that one in.
Yeah.
Manchester 7-27, Plymouth 7-28, but obviously Plymouth have the head-to-head, so we just need to get to the end of the season, and Plymouth will be 9th.
And Plymouth got any more road games?
They've got one game. It's away. I don't know who. I know the game on Friday was their last home game. I don't know
they getting
their
there?
last game. Well, are they getting there is the question.
Are they getting there? How many are left?
I wonder where it is. I'm kind of intrigued as to see how far away it is now. So you'll have to witter aimlessly while I go on to the
no, it's fine. I'm just my thought is that that message Wiley and Green might still be at Bristol Airport. They just might be flying in a different direction.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. Plymouth are in Sheffield.
East, Leeds Airport, maybe Leeds Bradford.
Leeds
Anyway,
Bradford.
we'll see.
That closed down, Leeds Bradford? Is that still open?
Still,
no,
we
it's
have
Robin Hood that closed down.
Yeah, we have airports in the north. Yeah, Doncaster, Robin Hood's Doncaster.
Yeah. I think they're looking at reopening that, by the way.
They're really? I know they're flying off the pool. I mean, in-laws are from down there, so I've been there once, I think.
Yeah. There you go. So on such airport knowledge of the UK, which I'm sure Tejan Lucas
constant diversification, Dan.
It's really exciting.
Diversification.
I am working the final Sunday of the regular season, so
I'm sure you are, because you'll have all the combinations, won't you?
Well, there probably won't be much left in the
that'll be disappointing
by then. Oh wait, no, because actually Leicester plays Sheffield, plays Surrey, on that last game. So we will have either the excitement of Leicester finishing fourth, or the more exciting thing, Leicester losing to Surrey.
No, which never happens.
Rob Hunt's asked me personally to practice my down goes the streak, so I'm going to be doing that all this week because he wants me to speak it into existence. I'm sure.
I don't think it'll happen. No, I think what's Bristol? Well, yeah, we'll see. Well, I'll give you the compliment of actually listening to you.
All right, paying attention. I can't promise free coffee, but
no, to be honest, my YouTube is generally on a default setting of mute. So,
so we'll be back next Monday night to do this for the final time this season in the regular season before we gird our loins for the playoffs. But for now, have a good week. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.